Do you know about America's oldest city park? A park that's older than the first landscape park, and that's New York's Central Park, or older than the very first county park, and that's New Jersey's Branchbrook Park. The park I'm talking about predates America itself. Hi, I'm Jose in Boston, Massachusetts, visiting America's very first urban park, the Boston Commons, and I'm ready to explore some of its great scenery, beginning with the park's history, which laid out the blueprint for other parks to exist. And walking around the park grounds, we'll learn about the many historic statues scattered all throughout, and a unique area for a park with ties to the Revolutionary War. This is the Boston Commons in the capital of Boston, Massachusetts. Before we make it to the Boston Commons, we begin in the Commonwealth Avenue Mall, an open design made in a straight line that leads to the Boston Commons. We've come across the mall concept in many recreational areas, including the most famous, the National Mall in Washington, D.C. These open concepts were recreational places for gathering and safe passage for horse and carriage. And this Commonwealth Mall leads us to so many great statues to begin our journey. At the start of the mall, we have a statue dedicated to Leif Erikson. Historians claim that Leif Erikson could have possibly been the first European explorer to set foot in America, predating the Columbus expedition by centuries. The land of voyagers. At the beginning of the Commonwealth Mall is Leif Erikson. In this memorial, Erikson discovered Vinland, which scholars believe was the land of New England. The Americas are some of the youngest territories across the planet, a curiosity for explorers and scientists of the era. The Commonwealth Mall celebrates several Bostonians with memorials scattered all across, like that of Samuel Eliot Morison, acclaimed Boston native who won a Pulitzer Prize for American historical literature. Throughout these parks, we've come across a new age of memorials, and that's women leaders. And Boston Women's Memorial is dedicated to 3 leaders who further developed the story of the city: Abigail Adams, Phyllis Wheatley, and Lucy Stone. Abigail was the First Lady of the United States, wife to John Adams, America's second president. One of the first advocates to women's rights, she let the Founding Fathers know to remember the ladies when laying the laws to the new land. Then there's Lucy Stone, Massachusetts' first woman to graduate college. Lucy was known to be a profound speaker, talking out against slavery and women's rights. Lucy also started the Women's Journal, a publication that discussed topics on women's suffrage. And Phyllis Wheatley, the first African-American author to publish a book of poems. It led to fame in both London and America, even gaining praise from President George Washington. Let's continue to the Boston Garden. This is the Boston Gardens, a park in between the Commonwealth Mall and the Boston Commons. This part of the park was the very first public botanical gardens in America. The Boston Gardens is designed in the shape of a rectangle. The park is over 24 acres of greenery, with the Lagoon in the center of the park. This garden was originally part of the Boston Commons and was known as the Round Marsh. The beauty of downtown Boston, ornamented by the wonderful scenery of the Boston Public Garden, the first public botanical garden in America, which brings a timeless elegance to this decorative city park. We have another legendary statue of General George Washington, an equestrian statue standing at 38 feet tall, 22 feet for the figure and 16 feet for the pedestal. Upon its creation, the statue was one of the most important monuments in New England. The horse for which Washington sits on has characteristics that give it its own personality. and the president is depicted during midlife, full of force and vigor. The Boston crowds fill this popular park with laughter and joy as one of Boston's most visited destinations. Delicate shrubs add color to the scenic imagery and provide a relaxing environment to unwind and escape the monotony of daily living. And this garden becomes a romantic backdrop with its monuments and willow trees, a perfect place for wedding photography. The Boston Public Garden started as a section of the Boston Common, which was later donated to the residents of Boston who lost their homes in the fire of 1794. In a surprising turn of events, the homes constructed on the newly acquired parklands had also burned down, leading to the new owners deciding not to rebuild and instead selling the property, now owned by the city of Boston. In the middle of the garden is a suspension bridge that becomes the highlight of the park. Above the Boston Lagoon is the garden's suspension bridge. When it debuted in 1867, it was known as the world's shortest functioning suspension bridge. Since then, it's lost the title as it was remodeled to be a girder bridge, supported by beams as the main structure. A wonderful viewpoint to see the Swan boats that travel below. This is a tipping point of the garden's beauty. Pleasure boats that provide visitors with a relaxing trip along the pond. Robert Paget created the boats during the early days of the park, after being inspired by the romantic opera Lohengrin. From within the Swan boats, you truly fall in love with the skyline of the city and activities within the park.
This part of the park is called the Lagoon, and you can see all of the Boston skyscrapers.
And the Boston skyscrapers look larger than life. Paget wanted to capitalize on the opera's inspiration of damsel in distress by combining the idea of a boat with the newly invented bicycle, gearing us beneath the suspension bridge in what feels like a picture-perfect experience. The Swan boats become a romantic attraction throughout this 15-minute roundabout ride, a Boston icon and tradition that's been operating in the same location for over 100 years. And the voices of visitors can be heard from above, just like we observe when walking across the suspension bridge, making it a must when visiting Boston. The public garden is a visual delight and a wonderful adventure in the heart of Boston, becoming an exquisite piece when traveling between the Commonwealth Mall and Boston Common, a fitting intermission before moving to the main park.
This is the Boston Commons Park, a park that dates back to 1634. That's over 100 years before the New World became America.
The Boston Commons Park consists of 50 acres of land and had multiple designers provide their input. Frederick Olmsted connected several of Boston parks to create what is known as the Boston Necklace, a chain that links parkways and waterways in the city and extends to Brookline, Massachusetts, turning the area into 1,100 acres of recreational escape. The park has experienced it all, from being a whipping post to exercise Puritan punishment to the great elm where witches and pirates were hung. The park even acted as a training ground for the British during the American Revolution. let's explore America's oldest park as I exit the gazebo to venture into this landmark. Boston Common was established in 1634, decades before the 13 colonies became the United States. The Commons is a local escape, a meeting place for visitors to dip their toes in the water of the reflecting pool or enjoy riding the merry-go-round. The Puritans of the colony purchased the land from the first European settlers of the area, an area to enjoy a picnic or ice cream. As the sun begins to settle, we see the silhouette of kids playing in Frog Pond. And markers celebrating the park's establishment. At the entry of the park is one of its most identifiable monuments, the Brewer Fountain, a 22 feet tall bronze sculpture weighing over 6 tons, an icon in design. It was gifted to the park by Gardner Brewer and was even displayed during the 1855 Paris World's Fair. The Boston parks, which include Boston Common and Public Garden, give the city a vintage allure, making it feel like we were still in colonial times, becoming the gathering place for the townfolk to enjoy the beautiful design of America's oldest urban park. Right across the street is Cheers Pub. Might as well go in and get a pint.
Thank you for joining me in exploring the very first urban park in America, in the heart of Boston, Massachusetts. I'm Jose, and if you've enjoyed what you've seen today, please subscribe, give it a like, and share. If you want to visit other notable American parks, please see the following video links. Until next time.